G'day and welcome Learn2Code students. You remember last session, last part of lesson 1, we made our helicopter controlled by the arrows, and when it touches the moon it goes back to the start. What we're going to do now is add the obstacles into our game. So first of all, click edit, click plus, and I'm going to choose some obstacles to add. If I go and look through the emojis, there's quite a few different options. I do like the rocket and I do like the airplane. So I'm going to, first of all, I'll add the rocket. And I want my rocket to go from this side of the screen to that side of the screen. So I'm going to place my rocket here. And now I need to think about the instructions that I want to give the rocket. Add new rule. What rule do I want my rocket to move on? Nice and simple answer. I'm going to do it when the play button is tapped. I want my rocket to move. And I'm just going to say, for this one, I could do move forward or I could do change X. I kind of like getting you guys in the habit of changing X, just so then, rather than using move forward and then sometimes being like, oh wait, I want to move backwards or I want to move up. Thinking about it in X and Y is a good habit to get into. So I do change X by 80, press play, and oh, my rocket changes X by 80. But that's not going to be very hard for my helicopter to dodge. So I need to add in. I could just keep doing change X by 80, change X by 80, change X by 80, but that's not really going to work. I could change the when, but that also isn't going to work. So we haven't actually learnt about this concept yet, and that's why I save it for lesson number 2, and that's why I've let you have a play around with it yourself to see if you can solve this problem. If we go into our blue blocks, our control flow, we have got some different blocks. Check once if, repeat forever, and wait. And if you think about it, we don't want our rocket just to move 80 once. We want our rocket to move forever. So if I wrap that change X by 80 with a repeat forever block, you'll see that now my rocket will move forever. Actually, maybe it doesn't. It gets stuck on the other side of the screen. And there's a few different options for how we can program this. If you think about it, it's when the rocket hits that side of the screen, I want something to happen. And I want the rocket to either come back or I want the rocket to go to this start position. And I'm going to show you what I think is a good option and what you might also think about some other options. You can do when something, and that will be the rocket bumps edge of the screen. That would actually work as an option. Silly me. So I would be going when rocket bumps edge of the screen, and whatever I put in here, the rocket will do when it bumps the edge of the screen. That's one possible option, and that's what we're going to do for this version. I'm actually going to, when we think about it, when I get the rocket to hit there, I want the rocket to reappear here. So I'm going to look at the rocket's position by dragging it around. It's like 600-ish Y, around 50X. So I'm going to go set position, 50X, and it's about 600Y that I want. So let's press play and see how that works. So that works. My rocket appears on the other side of the screen. I'm just going to really quickly show you one more version. So we're going to add in an airplane. And this, because I actually want my airplane to move from this side of the screen to that side of the screen. And maybe we want some characters moving up and down. You never know. I'm going to do a different thing with the rule. And first of all, we're going to again do the play button. The movement will be in the negative X direction because I'm moving in the minus. I'm not moving positive X. Positive X is to the right hand side of the screen, negative X to the left. So I'm going to press that play, and again it moves by 80 in the right direction that I want. So now I just need to wrap that with the repeat block that we see down here. So I go repeat forever, wrap that in the repeat block, press play, and my helicopter moves across the screen. Again, we have that same problem. It gets stuck there. Now, let's have a shot at this. Let's try this again. I could do when the aeroplane bumps the edge of the screen, and I can go set position, and I kind of roughly know that it's going to be about 1000x, and y will, I'm just going to say 100, just make it a little bit trickier. So my aeroplane goes across, and then for some reason it gets stuck there. I think I may have said 100x instead of 1000, so I need to go in. Luckily I checked that, it would mess up my game. When the aeroplane hits that screen, it keeps going across. So there are two possible options. I'm going to go in and edit what we did to the aeroplane. I'm going to delete this. If I also think about it in where the aeroplane moves, if it gets to a spot that its x, so its x position is less than like 50, I could also have it move back across the screen. So that's what, let's see if that works. So there's a few different options for what we can do to get our obstacles moving, and they're just two of them. And as you can see, there's quite often to achieve our goals in programming, there might be some different options, and sometimes some are going to be better than others. Some are going to be easier or more complicated than others. So it's, if you think of an option, it's good to explore it, but it's also good to see if there's some other options out there. Now the next thing that we need to do, first thing is, if our helicopter bumps that rocket or that aeroplane, we want some different things to happen. And the first thing we want it to happen is to start back at that position. And I'm going to do a little cheat here. We already have, when the helicopter bumps the moon, we have set position to X and set position Y. So I'm going to actually call this position helicopter. Okay, so what I did there, for those that wasn't very careful there, I clicked on the plus button and added an ability, and I've added this ability called position helicopter. Now if we look inside that ability, there's no blocks, but what I'm going to do is put this block inside. Now what that does is that saves that ability, and then I can access it anywhere within my program. So I click on add a new rule, and this is going to be when the helicopter bumps the airplane, let's say that for the first one. And rather than having to drag out that block and change the numbers, I just go position helicopter, and you'll see that it's got the helicopter's position where I want it to go. So it's going to take it back to the start. Now I also need to add in the rocket. So I'm going to say when the helicopter bumps the rocket, and again, let's position the helicopter. So if I press play, if that airplane bumps me, I go back to the start. If the helicopter bumps me, we'll see here, I go back to the start. And if I hit the moon, I go back to the start. Okay, awesome. So we've got the movements happening. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to set a score. And because my helicopter is getting a lot of different programs, it doesn't really matter where I set the score, but it needs to be somehow connected to the helicopter and the moon. So I'm going to give the moon a new instruction. And this is when the play button is tapped, going to values, and we haven't used values yet. I'm going to set a value, and I'm going to create a new value, and I'm going to call this value score. So I'm going to set the value score to 0 when the play button is tapped. Okay. Now we need to be able to see the score. So the first thing that I'm going to type is just some text and say score. I'm going to put that in the top corner somewhere. And then I'm going to type some more text, and I'm going to type the number 0 to begin with, because that's what my score will default to begin with. Okay. Now, when do we want the score to go up? We've already got that event program. When the helicopter bumps the moon, we want the score to go up. So I'm going to go into that program, and down here, I'm going to say increase value. We go across because we gave the value to the moon. We didn't set it in the helicopter. Go across to the moon, click score, and I'm going to increase the value by 1. So if I press play here, you'll see that when I hit the moon, nothing much is happening. My score's not changing in that top corner just yet. And that's because I need to do one other thing. On this 0, I'm going to program this 0 that when the score changes, it reflects the score and it shows the score. So I'm going to go when the play button is tapped and values, appearance actually, I'm going to say set text. So this makes its text, it changes its text from the 0. And I'm going to go into the moon's values, choose score. So let's have a look at this. If I hit, I need to actually get there first. If I hit the moon, my 0 should change. Why isn't it changing? Let's have another look. When the play button is tapped, set text to score. So does anyone have an idea? You might want to think about this. At the moment, my only instruction is when the play button is tapped, set the text to the score. And we made it when the play button is tapped, the score goes to 0. So it went to 0. But this only happens once. This doesn't happen when my character bumps the moon. So I'm actually going to go into my control flow and the blocks that we spoke about before that repeat forever. I'm going to do that. So this program is continuously checking what the score is, and then it's making this text equal the score. So if I go, press play, if I move up the screen and hit the moon, my score should go up, and it does. But you'll notice that I'm hitting these objects and the score doesn't go back down. So that's kind of a little bit cheaty in a way, because I don't want my the scores to go up when that happens. So what we're going to do is in the helicopter, when we've got bumps, we set the position. We're also going to go in set value, and we've got to go into the moon, score to 0. And I'm also going to do that in the rocket bump. Set value, go across to the moon, score to 0. So if we press play now, you'll see that if I hit the moon, my score goes up, and got 3. And if I hit that airplane, my score went down. And that's exactly what I want to happen. I want the score to go up if I hit the moon, and down if I get hit by one of the objects. So it's working the way that I want. Now, the next thing I need to think about is how I could incorporate some levels. And I'm going to show you really, really quickly one way to do that. And what I'm going to make is that if our score gets to like the number 5, I'm going to actually put in another aeroplane. I'm going to put that like in the middle here. And I'm going to program that aeroplane. When the play button is tapped, I'm going to make it invisible. So I'm going to set its invisibility to 100%. So it doesn't show, it will not be on the screen when the play button is tapped. Then I'm going to go into here and I'm going to give it something. And it says here, when something equals something. And what I want to do is when the score equals 5, I want this aeroplane to appear and move. So, got to go across to the moon, click score. We're going to say when the score equals 5, I'm going to make it appear, which means I set its invisibility to 0. And we've got that there. And I'm also then going to get it to move forward, and I'm going to say 80, or actually, I'm lying. I'm going to get it to change X because I said that you guys need to get into that habit. And like I learnt from before, I'm going to repeat that forever. So let's just see if this works. So there's no airplane. I'm going to have to be talented to get to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll see there that that extra helicopter has come across, but it's got stuck on the side of the screen. And that's, if you remember, we needed to add in the if that helicopter, or if that new aeroplane bumps, and we'll scroll down, edge of screen. I want to set the position, and I'm just going to say 0x and 200y. I'll leave it at that. I'm happy with that. So that should work. I'm going to trust that it will work. 3, 4, and 5. And hopefully, yep. So I've got 2 airplanes flying across the screen. Another thing that you could possibly do is have your characters get bigger or move faster based on the score. So that's basically our Hopscotch game completed. If you need to go through and look back at some of the videos, I encourage you to do that. You could also add in heaps of different levels and different ideas just based on that concept, what we've done here, which is make a character do something based on the score.